Hello and welcome to the latest video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout as we look ahead to Game Week 22. This show is all about picking a differential. How do you get it right? Who are the best differentials in Game Week 22? My name is Joe, and joining me to look at the options is Fantasy Football Scout's Deputy Editor Tom Freeman, who chooses differentials for articles on the website each week. And last time out, got in a very low-owned Jota for a 19-point return for his own team. Tom, welcome. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Joe. After that game week, it was a decent round. It started very slowly and improved on Sunday and Monday. So looking forward to now watching a few cup games over the next few nights, and feels like we're coming into a really important part of the season, and differentials, of course, play a part in that. So
definitely. What we're going to do with this one, we are going to get some of Tom's tips on how to pick a differential, because he picks them with success each week, not just for his own team but just for all of our teams on the website. So we'll get some insight into that as well. I will then have a go at trying to predict who he might predict will get returns as differentials for Game Week 22, and then he will hopefully be kind about those and then offer some more the ones he might actually pick. But we'll just see how I do there as well. Just a reminder to everyone, do press that like button and do subscribe so you can keep up to date with our latest videos and podcasts, and do have a look at fantasyfootballscout.co.uk for all the latest members offers. So we get the table I'll show in a bit is from the members area. Very easy to make as well. Okay, Tom, well, we'll start off by just getting your general top tips, really. So each week you sort of try and pick differentials for the website. How do you go about doing that? Yeah. What's your criteria? What are your general top tips for doing that?
Well, the process starts just by every week going through each team on the FPL website. And that's before I even look at fixtures or anything like that. I'll go through every single team and build a long list, I suppose, of differentials, players that have caught my eye, whether that is just by watching games or things like the goals imminent table, the assists imminent, names pop up on that. So you build this big long list and then you kind of zone in on each player individually. And fixtures is the go-to thing to look for. Spot the differential focuses on the next game week, but I don't like picking players for it who are going to be useless the week after. If they play Arsenal, City, Liverpool after that, then I'm not really sure how much use they're going to be to people. So I think we put 5 game weeks worth of fixtures on the website, and that's the kind of time frame we're looking at with it. So you zone in on the fixtures and then you get a better idea of the kind of players which you're going to consider for that week. I've got lots of custom tables in the members area as well, which can, a bit like the goals imminent table, it kind of pulls up players which you normally wouldn't consider. I've built my own kind of set piece tables, most attacking defenders, creators tables. So I'm always looking at those as well. Okay. And sometimes names will jump out which you're not expecting. And that's how I kind of go about building it as well. Sometimes you look at opposition weaknesses as well. In our members area, you get crosses conceded stats, chances conceded stats, and all of that kind of filters into it. Okay. And then by the end of it, you've hopefully got 3, and there's never any crossover with the scout picks. We don't like to have a player in the differentials and the scout picks. Okay. So sometimes if they're going to be in the scout picks, I won't go for them in the differentials, but generally it's a free rein on who you want to pick most of the time.
It's quite interesting what you say about for a longer period as well, because often you can get players with one great fixture and not. But what's the point if you keep having to make transfers to get players in and out, the same players in and out each week? You're going to eventually take hits, and your team's going to become disjointed. So you want a player that you can keep for like 4-6 weeks at least, really.
Yeah, and I try to pick players as well, which people are actually going to go for as well. You look at players in the past 2 or 3 weeks, players like Jota and Alfie Doughty we did, Pascal Gross, Olise before the injury. Yeah. They're players which I think people will some of them are probably won't go for, but the majority of the time they're players which I think people will feel comfortable picking.
Yeah. Okay, we're looking at Game Week 22 as a sort of a snapshot of doing that. We've got there's some notable fixtures stand out. Man City at home to Burnley, for example.
Mm.
Spurs against Brentford as well, two potentially attacking tides in Brentford. Tony back as well. Obviously quite well owned now, but would ordinarily be a differential if his ownership was quite low. You've also got West Ham against Bournemouth as well. That strikes me as a sort of, there could be some options there. Fulham at home to Everton. I mean, you could pretty much pull out any of those and think, well, there's potential for attacking returns there. I remember there's something, a guy, Ian Parron, who does advice for Sky managers, and it's something he said that always sticks with me. I bring it up quite frequently on videos. Get attacking players from attacking sides, defensive players from defensive sides. So I was asking, for you, when you're picking a differential, you say you're going for an attacking player, which, you know, you want goals and assists there. Do you follow that mantra as well? So, for example, you might think, well, Palace haven't scored that much, I might not go for them, but Man City have scored a lot, so let's see who's low owned on their midfield.
Sometimes, but it's very hard to get differentials from those top teams because
Yeah,
obviously they're highly owned. We've got a threshold of 5% at Fantasy
yeah.
Football Scout. The player has to be 5% or
Oh, okay.
under.
Right.
And so you can often find yourself looking teams outside of that kind of
Okay.
traditional big six.
Yeah.
And it's obviously risky as well if you put a player forward for the differentials and we don't know he's a certain starter as well. I don't really like that. So,
No.
and I sometimes think you can pick players from the teams if they're not going to score loads of goals, providing they're going to, you know, they're talisman for those teams as well.
Okay.
You know, if they're going to be players who have got the goal involvement is up there, I feel more comfortable then that, okay, that team might only score one goal, but there's a good chance he's going to be involved. But yeah, I totally get why somebody would try and plug into the best attacks. It makes absolute sense. But sometimes for differentials, but it is difficult. No.
Okay. Okay. Well, here's a list I did of. So I did a table and I try to have a guess. Now I did it at under 6% owned, because there was Martinelli is 5.6% owned, I believe. So he would have just missed out under the 5% threshold. So I just thought, well, you know, for 0.6, I might as well include him there. So
Yeah.
I already know from what you've been saying he won't be in your list because he's over 5% owned, but I still think it's still a differential to consider. So I sorted them by minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty. So a bit like what you were saying earlier, you've got your custom tables and see if it pulls up any names, and then you're looking to see who the match is against, and you're also looking to see future fixtures, see who they want as well. So top of this list is Trossard at Arsenal. He's got sort of the ultimate differential, really. He's well under 5% owned. Definitely not guaranteed to start, but whether a sub or a starter, he's got potential returns. He's got a goal in just 2 starts, and this is. So you're looking at this. This is over the last 6 matches, rather. So I should explain that. So these are all under 6% owned, and this is their last 6 matches stats, or the 6 matches they have played. But he's been underperforming, and he's got Nottingham Forest next. So I think he's a good name for the differentials. Would he consider? Wouldn't he make the cut just because he's not a sure starter?
Yeah, probably for that reason. I wouldn't want to. I mean, I wouldn't want to put Trossard in spot the differential next week and say go and buy him when I couldn't even guarantee. I can never guarantee a start, but I think Trossard would be a brilliant differential if one of those spots opened up for him, and if that was an injury to Havertz or Martinelli, that's when you see an opportunity. Of course, he could do well, but I would find that a bit risky recommending him this week when there's no guarantee that he'll definitely start again.
Yeah, definitely. So I think, I mean, worth considering, but not going to make your list though. Chris Wood is next. Anyone who gets him in and he gets a couple of goals, they do really well because I think he's well under 2% owned. But he's had 5 goals in his last 6 starts. 6 matches. 4 of those were starts. 40 FPL points he's accrued over that time. Minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty over 121 minutes. He created 7 chances as well. He does unfortunately have Arsenal up next, and then Liverpool, but then he does have West Ham and Burnley. So fixtures are mixed, not too bad, and Arsenal can concede. I probably would say he's not going to be on your list, but I think he's a good differential. He certainly has been for me over the years.
Yeah, no, I'd agree, Joe. Yeah, he's definitely a player that I would look to put in the differentials when those
Yeah.
fixtures align. But I think he can just be a really good differential option anyway. He's a bit of an enabler, isn't he? You
Yeah.
don't necessarily, with a player like that, and with sometimes when you're picking a differential, you don't need a good run of blue ones because he's the kind of player that you're going to rotate in and
Yeah.
out, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
At 4.9, what is he now? He's
4.9
4.9
million. Yeah.
still, isn't he? So you could bench him. You're not going to get him in this week and bench him, but
No.
you see what I mean. You could bench him
Yeah.
and then play him against Bournemouth or
Yeah.
West Ham in the coming weeks or whatever. So that's exactly the type of player I would be looking at.
Okay. Next name is Martinelli. Now I know he won't make your list because he's over 5% owned, but he's under 6% owned. So say for example he was under 5% owned, he has just scored a brace. Would he
Yeah.
be? And he's still not nailed on to start, but he's probably more assured than
No.
Trossard.
Yeah, I think after you come off the bench and score a brace,
Yeah.
your chances of
So
that star elevated,
say
aren't they?
say he was 4.9% owned. He scored 2 goals and an assist in his last 6 matches, which is, people might be surprised by that, but that he's got an assist on top of those 2 goals as well, and 5 starts and 6 matches. Would he ordinarily make the differentials? I mean, away game to Nottingham
Not sure.
Forest.
I'm not sure if he'd make it, but he would definitely be on the long list of
Okay.
names, which would. I don't know if there's something about it when I'm picking differentials. I don't ideally like to pick players coming off the back of a haul. I feel I should have picked Martinelli the week
Yeah.
before he gets the
Yeah.
haul.
Yeah.
And there is that. I don't want to stick 3 differentials up. We've all got double-digit hauls the week before. It kind of it's not what it's there really to do. But Martinelli is that kind of you spoke about earlier from the top teams who are going to score a lot of goals. Not ownership is low. He's that type of player. It wouldn't surprise me if he does drop below 5 if he is at some point.
I
In
mean,
the
you
coming
make an
weeks.
interesting point there, because there is a sort of the hipster points that you get for picking
Yeah.
before they haul. But the thing is, players like, say, for example, Chris Woods or Martinelli, they could get a brace in a game, still be well
Yeah.
under 5%. I mean, as in
Yeah.
Chris Woods' case. So you can pick them for a differential the following week.
Oh, I will do sometimes. Yeah,
But
it's just sometimes I don't want to go in with 3
but
because I'll get
no,
smart Alec in the
yeah.
comments and go, "Oh, it's not last
Yeah.
week's points."
Yeah, because I think that's it. I think, but not just those. Obviously, like you professionally picking them. All managers when their team, everyone wants that differential that no one else has
Yeah.
got or thinking about, and then they get that return, like you got with Jota, for example, this
Yeah.
week in your team. And there's a sense of like, oh well, exactly. They got points last week. That's easy to pick them. But yeah, it is. But if they then get another brace the following week,
Nobody cares to that. Yeah.
then
Right.
you're still getting those points
Yeah.
afterwards, admittedly, but so I think that's an interesting point, that, because I do think picking a differential, there is an element of trying to be cool as
Yeah,
well.
and trying to be too.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd agree with that. Yeah.
Next name is Gakpo. He's the only Liverpool player on this list because all the other ones are well over 5-6% owned. People already know about Jota, Darwin
Yeah.
Núñez, etc. So Gakpo's sort of the also man here. Would he make he wouldn't make the list, would he? Because he's just simply not nailed on to start. He's only got the 1 goal and a couple of assists. Well, 3 attacking returns, but just the 2 starts. Would that count him out?
Yeah, he didn't. He wouldn't make the list now, but he did. He was a differential a month and a half, a month ago, maybe when they.
Yeah.
I think there was a fixture. Was it at Sheffield United? And we really thought he was going to start. Darwin was struggling at the moment, and so that's the type of pick you would throw in where if he goes in and he impresses that match, there's an opportunity then to get in the first team. So but not this week. Now I still think that. Let's see what happens against Fulham and against Norwich in the Cup, but I'm not expecting him to start that Chelsea match at the moment.
Okay, so the next couple of games I think might be on your differential list, or at least in consideration. Jimenez, well under 5% owned. He's nailed on to start. He's got 4 goals and an assist, so 5 attacking returns in his last 6. He is at home to Everton, and he also fulfills the criteria of you want to keep him because he then has Burnley and Bournemouth and then Aston Villa. So definitely the next 2 after that, Everton, are great. He's budget friendly. He didn't score last week, so you get hipster points if he does. I mean, is he in the reckoning?
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
Really?
Everton are pretty good. Everton are pretty good defensively,
Yeah,
aren't they? So I am kind of bearing that in mind. But probably now, if you're going to go for Jimenez, now probably is the time with the
yeah,
Burnley fixture to follow, and then
yeah,
two, three of the next four are at home.
yeah.
They could blank in 26, couldn't they?
Yes, we can.
It's doubtful they'll have to overcome Liverpool, but they could.
Yeah,
So let's see what happens in
but
that. But he's the type of player which is a very traditionally a very good differential, nailed on,
yeah.
playing for a reasonable attacking team, not the best, not the worst. But Craven Cottage would be a factor with
Okay.
three of the next four at home.
And I think I'm going to get success with the next selection of Doku, Man City, well under 5% owned. He has scored. He has got 4 assists, 5 attacking returns in his last 6 matches. 5 of those he started. Minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty every 170 minutes. He's been overperforming expected goal involvement by about 3. But he does have Burnley next. He has created 13 chances. He must be in the reckoning, if not in
Yeah,
the scout picks, but definitely to be a differential.
yeah. If we think he starts, and we're never going to know
No.
100%, but if we have an inkling that he will, he'll definitely be under
Okay.
consideration
Okay.
for us because this is the perfect fixture. And I think because he's got that double in 25, I don't mind picking him so much because I think he'll play one of those games.
Yeah.
Will he start Burnley, Brentford, Everton in a row before that? Probably not. But if he were to start 2 out of the 3, you'd probably be happy with that.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
he could be a big option if he gets those minutes.
Grealish is next. I don't think he'll be there just because of lack of
No.
starts. But nevertheless, it's worth pointing out he's got 3 goals in his last 6 matches. And his minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty, 171 minutes, so just behind Doku. They're only marginally overperforming and created 11 chances. So a player to consider, but probably won't make your list. Wilson,
No.
same thing.
Mm.
Isak is just the main man there. Wilson is also around speculation. He might even go soon. He's getting older.
Mm.
But he has scored 2 goals and assists, so 3 attacking returns in his last 6 matches, 4 of which he started and created 4 chances as well. Jesus is another name. I was quite surprised that he was still quite lowly owned, well under
Yeah.
5%. So I think he's a name that could get there because he's nailed on to start, you would imagine. He has started
Yeah.
5 out of 6. He has got an assist and a goal. He he has been marginally underperforming. He's created 11 chances as well. And Arsenal, Nottingham Forest at home. Then they got Liverpool, and then West Ham and Burnley away. So these are reasonable fixtures. Jesus could be in the reckoning, maybe.
He's always a name which we note down every
Oh
single
right,
week, and then
he's
you
always
just
there.
yeah. Well, no, he's because it's that rarity where you got an under 5% who's pretty nailed in that
Yeah, yeah,
team, and of course he's been injured for a bit, so we always look at him. But you need the fixtures to fall,
yeah,
and I'm not sure. Forest, Liverpool, West Ham. I might be looking at him in 25 maybe as a differential pick
yeah,
when they play Burnley. That might be the
yeah.
time,
Okay.
but yeah, not for now. But he is a name which does kind of pop up occasionally.
Okay. Edouard is next to Crystal Palace. I think he could make your list. I don't know. I'm just speculating. At home to Sheffield United, he is the main man up front there. It seems like Elise and Eze are, but they're not. Whenever I look at the talisman for Palace, it's Edouard who's most involved. Mainly, I think, because Elise and Eze just haven't had much chances because of injuries have curtailed their time.
Yeah.
But Edouard's 5.4 million. He's had 2 goals across his 6 starts. Minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty over 180 minutes. He does have Sheffield United at home. He's created 6 chances as well. Obviously, it's an attacker in a defensive side. So for me, I probably won't go there myself. But I think because he's so lowly owned, because it's a good fixture, and because Crystal Palace then have Brighton, Chelsea and Everton afterwards, so quite mixed, and then Burnley in 26. They've got some okay fixtures coming up. I think Edouard might be sort of nearly on your list, maybe?
Yeah, we just need to see that he's going to start because I think I'm right in saying he was on the bench at Arsenal and Mateta got the start, but Edouard didn't, hasn't he? Edouard hasn't had many minutes recently. I think he has been injured, but now I think
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
back. So in that situation with a player like that, I'd send Neil a message and just say, what are the chances
Yeah,
of
yeah.
being in your
Okay.
predicted
Fine.
lineup? If he suggests, I think he might be, then that's when I would.
Okay.
Edouard again, it's like Jimenez. He's that kind of player which would make it
Yeah.
because
Okay.
he's got good goal involvement there.
Okay.
He's the focal point when he plays.
Okay, so that's my attempt to pick some differentials. But some of those names will be on your short list as well. But what other before we go, what other names should FPL managers consider ahead of Game Week 22 as a differential?
So a player that I'm keeping my eye on is Kudus from West Ham. It's
Okay.
3.3% owned, and
Okay.
I think that it doesn't look like Ghana are going to progress. I think it was in the goals imminent video. We
Yeah.
mentioned that they'd only got 2 points, so we're waiting to find out if they get through in third place. If they don't, then he is a player that I'd be looking at. Now I know that they play United and Arsenal after Bournemouth, but then it's Forest after that, and then Brentford. I don't mind those fixtures
Okay.
for Kudus because I think he's very good on the counter attack. Kudus and Bowen is as well. West
Yeah.
Ham are a better team on the counter
Okay.
attack. So against United and Arsenal at home, I could still doing well. And I think he'll be really important getting him back as well alongside Bowen, and it'll kind of elevate West Ham up another level.
I guess that's another good player to have on your differential list. Is that sort of player who's, in his case, is coming back unexpectedly early from an international competition.
Yeah.
Another player
Yeah.
may be coming back unexpectedly early from an injury, for example. So it's a lot of managers might think, oh, I didn't know they were back.
Which leads me perfectly into the next one, which is
Okay.
Andrew Robertson.
Fair enough.
2.2%,
Okay.
2.2% owned.
Yeah.
We think he's going to be back. Now it's Chelsea next, but I don't mind playing a defender
Yeah.
against Chelsea.
Okay.
We've said it a lot on the other video. This has been a traditionally low scoring game, a lot of 0-0s between these teams. And I just think you could get him back if they're going to double
Yeah.
in 25, which we might know before the deadline. He would be a player, exactly that type of player,
Yeah.
coming back from injury, low owned.
Okay.
Go for him. And then for the third one, I like Doku, one of your picks, Joe. I really like him. We're going to keep an eye on him. And then I've also got a bit of a random name on my list, which I do like to have. And Ross Barkley is somebody I'm considering if
Okay.
Luton get that double.
Like
if
it.
Luton get that double, they play Brighton,
Yeah.
Newcastle, Sheffield United, double game week. I think he's looked really good
Yeah.
since going to Luton.
Yeah.
And he could be a real under the radar differential midfielder. So,
That's good. And
yeah.
wow, hipster points are
Yeah,
plenty.
can you imagine?
Imagine the hipster points. Wow.
They'd be rocketing.
It's like a Pink Floyd EP that they only released
But,
to their mates.
yeah, exactly. But like Kudus and Robertson, they're the two which are in my thoughts at the moment.
Okay.
I won't write it till Monday, so we've still got a while to go yet. But
Okay.
they could be brilliant with differentials.
There's some good names there, and it they weren't on my doing my list there, but yeah, they are really good.
Well,
They're really good.
only,
names, yeah.
only because the defenders wouldn't show up on
Yeah,
that
they
list
wouldn't.
for
No, they
XGI
wouldn't.
anyway.
No, I was mainly looking at attackers.
Kudus. I don't think he's a stats darling in the sense
No,
that
he's
he's
not.
been putting up amazing numbers, but I just think sometimes I like to use a bit of eye test, and I do think he just looks very, very good before he went away to AFCON.
That was great. That was really useful, actually. It was good to get an insight into picking differentials, especially for a guy who just picked Jota in his team for 19 points.
Well, don't forget you got Alfie Doughty a few weeks back, Joe. That's another ultimate
no one can top
differential.
that pick.
No, exactly. So you definitely get brownie points for that.
One day he'll let me down. But thanks a lot for your time. Good luck everyone in Game Week 22, picking your own differentials for your team, so you can be your own differential hipster for a week once you get an amazing return from those players. Thanks a lot for your time. Do remember to press that like button, do remember to subscribe, and do remember to check out fantasyfootballscout.co.uk for latest offers on the membership area there. Thanks a lot for your time. Tom, take care. See you soon.
Right, thanks, Joe.